Rejected to resilient, finding peace in a world that demands your strength. Have you ever wondered what happens when the world says no to you? Not just once, but repeatedly. When doors slam in your face so many times, you start to think maybe there's something wrong with the way you're knocking. I recently had the profound privilege of interviewing Darlean Hinson, a remarkable woman whose insights on resilience, peace, and community have transformed countless lives. Darlene isn't just a survivor of life's harshest rejections. She's an alchemist who turns pain into purpose with such grace that those around her can't help but be transformed. Her work has created ripples of healing across communities where hope was once in short supply, and her wisdom comes not from theory, but from the trenches of lived experience. The truth is, rejection doesn't discriminate, it visits us all. But for many Black women, particularly those who've spent decades in survival mode, rejection often comes with an extra sting, one that questions not just what you do, but who you fundamentally are. Let me ask you something. When was the last time you felt truly rejected? Maybe it was that promotion you were perfect for but didn't get, the relationship that ended without explanation, the family member who still doesn't see you, the community that should embrace you but somehow never makes space. That feeling, that hollow ache in your chest, that momentary question of your own worth, that's universal. But what happens next? That's where the path diverges. Some of us collapse inward, some lash out, and some, like the remarkable women I'm about to tell you about, find a third way forward, one that transforms rejection into resilience. Consider Tiffany Aliche, known to millions as the budget nista. Before she became a financial powerhouse with best selling books and appearances on Good Morning America, Tiffany lost everything. And I mean everything. The 2008 recession didn't just take her job, it took her home, her savings, her sense of security. It forced her back to her parents' house, a grown woman starting over from scratch. Imagine that moment, the shame, the questions, the whispers from others wondering what you did wrong, the rejection from employers who wouldn't give her a chance. But here's where Tiffany's story takes a turn that Darlene would recognize immediately. Instead of letting rejection define her, Tiffany leaned into her faith. She started teaching free financial literacy workshops at local libraries. She lived paycheck to paycheck while building something new from the ashes of what was lost. This wasn't just about finding a new job. This was about finding herself again, about looking at the pieces of her broken life and seeing not just what was lost, but what could be built anew. The daughter of Nigerian immigrants who valued education but struggled financially themselves, Tiffany understood both the weight of expectations and the reality of limitations. When employers rejected her resume, when banks rejected her loan applications, when friends subtly distanced themselves, as people often do when your circumstances change dramatically, she could have internalized those rejections as evidence of her failure. Instead, she used them as fuel. Today, Tiffany runs a multi-million-dollar business that has helped countless women, particularly Black women, take control of their finances. Her platform reaches millions worldwide. She's been featured on major networks and publications. But that transformation didn't happen overnight. It happened one rejection at a time, one small act of resilience after another. As Darlin emphasized in our interview, no matter how many times you've been rejected by friends, family, or society, you have the power to keep moving forward and define your own path. That's the first lesson. Resilience isn't about never falling, it's about how you rise. But rising takes more than just determination, it takes protection of your spirit, your energy, your peace. And that brings me to our second insight from Darlean Hinson, the importance of protecting your peace. Let's be honest. We live in a world that's constantly trying to access you. Your phone buzzes with notifications. Your inbox fills with demands. Family members, friends, colleagues, everyone wants a piece of you. And for many high achieving Black women, saying no feels impossible. After all, you've been conditioned to be the strong one, the reliable one, the one who makes it happen no matter what. But what happens when that strength becomes a prison? Minda Harts knows this territory intimately. As the author of the memo and an advocate for equity for Black women in corporate America, Minda spent years in predominantly white workplaces where she was overlooked for promotions despite her hard work. She endured microaggressions that left emotional scars. She smiled through meetings where her ideas were ignored, only to be praised when repeated by someone else. The rejection wasn't just professional, it was personal. It questioned her value, her voice, her very presence in rooms where decisions were made. Growing up as one of the few Black girls in her school and later workplace settings, Minda often felt invisible or actively undermined. This wasn't just occasional discomfort, it was a sustained experience of erasure that left deep wounds. But Minda did something revolutionary. She prioritized her mental health, she sought therapy, she set firm boundaries at work, including eventually leaving toxic environments altogether. She prayed regularly for clarity and peace. And perhaps most importantly, she wrote the memo, a book that coaches other Black women through similar experiences. Today, Minda runs the Memo LLC, coaching Black women on navigating workplace trauma. She's a sought after speaker on racial equity topics nationwide. Her work has changed corporate diversity conversations across Fortune 500 companies and inspired thousands through practical tools rooted in lived experience. But none of that would have been possible if she hadn't first protected her peace. As Darlene wisely noted, setting boundaries and disconnecting from negative influences is essential for healing and growth, especially when dealing with trauma or betrayal. This isn't selfish, it's sacred. It's recognizing that you cannot pour from an empty cup, that your worth isn't measured by how much you endure, but by how well you honor your own humanity. But even with resilience and boundaries, there's still something missing, something essential to not just surviving rejection, but thriving beyond it. And that's community. Darlene's third insight cuts straight to the heart. You are not alone in your struggles. Let that sink in for a moment. You are not alone. When rejection isolates us, when it makes us feel like we're the only ones experiencing this particular pain, it gains power. But when we realize others have walked this path before us, something shifts. The burden lightens, not because it's any less heavy, but because more shoulders are helping to carry it. Dr. Joy Harden Bradford understood this when she created therapy for Black girls, an online space fostering mental wellness among Black women who've experienced exclusion and rejection. Many members reported feeling isolated due to stigma around mental health care within their families or churches. Others had been betrayed or trivialized when expressing vulnerability. Dr. Joy herself grappled with loneliness as one of few psychologists focused exclusively on issues facing young Black women. But rather than accepting this isolation, She turned this gap into a mission driven movement. Her solution wasn't just individual therapy, though that's certainly part of it, it was community. Podcasts featuring real stories about overcoming trauma and betrayal. Directories connecting listeners with culturally competent therapists nationwide. Spaces where Black women could say, "Me too," and "I understand." And you're not crazy for feeling this way. The results speak for themselves. The Therapy for Black Girls podcast has hit top charts with over 2 million downloads annually. Partnerships with major brands like BET and Essence Magazine have amplified its reach even further. But the real impact isn't measured in numbers, it's measured in women who no longer feel alone, who recognize their struggles in someone else's story, who find strength not just within themselves, but within a community that says, "We see you, we hear you, and we're walking with you." As Darlene emphasized, many successful Black professionals have faced similar hardships, but found strength through community, faith, and self belief. So, where does this leave us? With three powerful truths from Darlean Hinson that can transform how we experience and move through rejection. First, resilience is your birthright. No matter how many times the world says no, you have the power to keep moving forward. Second, protecting your peace isn't optional, it's essential. Setting boundaries isn't selfish, it's an act of self preservation in a world that would happily drain you dry. And third, you are never, ever alone. Your struggles may feel unique, but I promise you, someone else has walked a similar path and can help light the way forward. These aren't just nice ideas, they're survival strategies. They're the difference between being crushed by rejection and using it as a stepping stone to something greater. I want to challenge you today, not just to hear these words, but to live them, to make a radical commitment to your own resilience, your own peace, your own community. What would change if you stopped seeing rejection as a reflection of your worth and started seeing it as a redirection towards your purpose? What would happen if you protected your peace with the same ferocity you protect your loved ones? What could bloom in your life if you reached out to others who understand your journey instead of suffering in isolation? The world needs you not burned out, not broken down, not diminished by rejection. The world needs you whole, resilient, at peace, connected. So, tomorrow, when rejection comes knocking, because it will, I want you to remember Tiffany, who built an empire from the ashes of financial ruin. Remember Minda, who protected her peace and changed corporate America in the process. Remember Dr. Joy, who created community where isolation once reigned. And most importantly, remember what Darlean Hinson taught us, that rejection isn't the end of your story, it's the beginning of your transformation. The question isn't whether you'll face rejection, the question is who you'll become because of it. Who will you choose to be?